start our today's session. I'll be sharing my screen and just confirm whether you can see my screen or not. Okay. Is my screen visible to all?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
Great. So let's start with today's session. So as you all know, we are doing a data science crash course kind of a thing through Python. So our first step, that is part one, is to know what is data science and what is Python, how we are going to use it in our data science problems. So here we begin. This is an introduction part. So what is our agenda for today? Today's agenda will be a brief outlook on data science. What is Python? Why do we use it? How to install it? And twiddling with the basics. Just looking around, poking here and there to see what is a notebook, and then what are libraries in Python and data type. This is our objective for today. So why data science? Why do we use data science? Data science is used for three major aspects, that is decision making, predictive analysis, pattern discovery. Or you may say also future forecasting as well. So what do we do with decision making? Decision making is a time where you have to decide, should I go for a picnic today or not? It's a simple question, yes or no. But to come to that decision, we have complex decisions to be made. Like, will it rain today? If it is raining, obviously I'll not go. Is it windy today? Is it too sunny? Are my friends coming? Is my budget okay? So all these multiple questions we are using yes, no, and applying a decision tree and coming to the final conclusion. Okay, I should go or not. Then another would be predictive analysis. So predicting means you're looking into the data at present and you are finding out what will be the future of this data. Like based on the census data, as someone of you have said that they are doing this for project for sensors. So based on the sensor data, you may be able to predict when a sensor is going to burst down or when a particular accident is going to happen, like that way. And pattern discovery. Pattern discovery means you identify some kind of a pattern in customer's behavior. Like for example, a customer is not using the app for let's say 1 month or 2 months, then it's very likely that that person is going to uninstall it. So because of that, we may lose our income. Like that way, you are already discovering a pattern in it. If a customer has already installed another app for this, then obviously your app's usage will be less. Like that way, you are discovering a pattern. This is where data science is being used. So what is data science? Data science can be crisply concentrated on these three questions which we did yesterday. So first is asking the right question and exploring the data. So what do you mean by asking the right question? It's very interesting to say that people fail to identify the question correctly, because in data science what we do, we have to ask questions. We have the data ready made with us, or sometimes we also have to dig up the data. So after that, you have to ask the right question. What is right question and what is wrong question? Means, let's say you have a data about customers whole 1 year's data, from where he is, why he is purchasing, what is his what do you say, the transactions, which product he has taken, how much gap is there in between two transactions, how he is paying through cards, through what kind of UPIs. Like that, we have complete list, let's say about 100 columns. Now my question, what is the right question? Means, what am I analyzing over here? Am I analyzing the product, what product is going to buy in the future? Am I analyzing his what do you say, purchasing pattern, so that I can analyze and say, okay, this customer has exhausted his limit and he'll not purchase from the coming month or so? Or am I analyzing the clusters, means rich people, I mean not supposedly rich, means high budget people, mid people, lower bid people, like that way am I clustering them? So what is my question? Based on that question, you are going to take the same data, apply different models, and come up with different conclusions. So what I'm saying is, on a single piece of data, same data, you are working to find different solutions. So right question will lead you to the right direction, it will save our time. Then comes modeling the data. So modeling the data is statistics part. So you are applying some kind of a model, like a decision tree or random forest or logistic regression, like that way. Some model. What is a model? A model can be said to be a mathematical tool which we apply on the data to get an output. So we define it. Based on that, we get some answers. So we do the fine tuning for it. Means we crisp it. We stretch it to the maximum possible level of precision or accuracy. So that is what we do. And then the last thing, after getting our results, we visualize the data and our results obviously and communicate them. So how are we communicating our results? We communicate our results through ppts obviously if we are doing a commercial or commercial project, means in the commercial world, or we present our data through some kind of a report which is going to be published in some journals, if someone is into the research world, or we are going to project this data into some physical forms, like we are going to produce some patented medicine or some patented mechanical tools or like that way. So for that, we need to visualize the data. How do we visualize it? Through graphs, obviously. So what kind of graphs do we use? We have bar plots, we have scatter plots, heat map, bubble maps, like that way we have many. So using the right type of graph will save us a lot of time and will make our customers or our targeted audience to understand it very quickly. So who is a data scientist? Means who is a data scientist? Do we have a particular course? Okay, if a person has studied engineering, he's an engineer. If a person has studied law, he's a lawyer. So do we have such kind of course? If a person has studied some data science certification course, he is a data scientist, otherwise not. No, there is no predefined course. Means there are courses which are coming up right now in the recent years, but there is no predefined, what do you say, a course only by studying this can we say a person is a data scientist. A data scientist has a touch in all the fields, jack of all trades. He is into programming, he is into statistics, he is into, what do you say, mathematics and engineering, hardware, software, all mixed kind of a guy. Means he has touch in each and every field. So obviously he is also a good speaker. Communication is one of the things which is very very important for a data scientist. So all these skills is very difficult to be found in a single person. So a data scientist in simple terms can be said to be a software engineer. Means how he is good in statistics compared to a software engineer. Okay, his statistics levels compared to a software engineer are above par. But when compared to a statistician, his software engineering skills are above par. Means you don't have to be a high tech programmer, a high end programmer, I mean to say, or you do not have to know complete statistics of phd level to do data science. If you know the basic groundwork of programming and data science, you're good to go. So our whole program, means our whole data science course is based on Python. So obviously the first question which comes into our mind is what is Python and why are we only using Python? I mean there are many other programs available for us to do data science, right? Like there is Azure, there is R, there is Alteryx, there is MATLAB. Yes, you can do in MATLAB, Mathematica. All there are many softwares available for us to do data science. It is not wholly and completely restricted to Python. Yet we are here doing a specialized course in Python. Why? So this is the logo of Python. So why do we prefer Python? First of all, Python is a high-end object-oriented language and it is open source. So why do we use it? The main benefits of it is first of all, it's very easy to handle scientific and statistical functions or mathematical functions where you are using high ordered, what do you say, mathematical functions of differentiation, integration, or whatever it is. I'm not that good with math. So another is its syntax is very easy to understand. Why do we use a language? We use a language to make a computer understand it basically, but we have a certain rule based on which we type. Like you write in English, my name is. You cannot write name is this, and or you cannot write the name first and then write name is. So you have a particular order which you write follow. That is the same thing which we do in Python. That syntax is very easy compared to other programming languages, and it is basically like writing English. There is not much difference in it. And the most incredible part of it is it has a large community support and standard libraries. There are many standard libraries coming up for machine learning. Trust me, there are recently developed new standard libraries machine learning. You can do complete machine learning apply complete machine learning algorithms based on one single package with no coding. Just you install that package, You put the data into that package and you get the output of which is the best model. So like that way, it is completely evolving. So you find many new libraries coming up and there is a strong community support for us. So if you're stuck somewhere or you're developing something new and you require some help, experts are always there in our field to help us. And then obviously it is an interactive mode and it helps us to do the test codes very easily. I mean, if you're testing something, if it is simple, you point out your errors very quickly, right? So the debugging part is very easy compared to some other programming languages. So that's why we prefer Python. So for data science, I mean, you can go into the IDE, Python and all, but we prefer using this Anaconda. So why do we not go into the IDE Python and go for Anaconda? The reason is very simple. So for data science, we require certain packages, right? All those packages and all are easily available, ready-made available in Anaconda. You know, it's hassle-free when you're dealing with different kinds of packages, installing them, managing them, deploying them. All this is being handled single-handedly by Anaconda, and it is free and open source distribution of programming languages. So that's why we are preferring Anaconda. So how do you install Python? Python means Anaconda. So the first step, you go into the website, visit anaconda.com /downloads, then select the windows and the which window you want, download the exe file and run the exe file. It's that simple. So I'll just show you the website so that so our website is this Anaconda. So in this you select download. So here you get the Windows. So if you are a Windows operating system you have, then select whichever is compatible for you, 32-bit or 64-bit, and then install it. You get an exe file. After getting that exe file, you just run it. That's all. So after doing that, in the Windows, you would see an Anaconda folder. In that, you have Anaconda Navigator. So just select that. By selecting it, you will get this navigator. So over here is where the magic happens. So we are working in Jupyter Notebook. What is a notebook? It is a web-based interactive communicated notebook environment. So it is opened in website obviously because it's web-based and it is very interactive. Interactive how we'll see. So that is how you are going to install Anaconda. So back to our slide. So from there, we are starting with Jupyter Notebook. So Jupyter, after going through that and clicking on Jupyter Notebook, we get this. So why are we taking Jupyter Notebook? We are taking Jupyter Notebook. Why? Because it is very interactive for us. It helps us to combine live coding with narrative text, equations, images, videos, and visualizations. And also, it's easy to share. Let me share you the working of notebook. So this is how a notebook is. So what do? In a notebook? You add you connect it to all sorts of database like unstructured data, maybe some kind of pictures or videos or CSV files, Excel files, SQL files, or Hive database, whatever, online data as in some data which is directly coming to you through some websites or all. So you directly link it in the notebook, you process it, means whatever model you're running, whatever pre-processing you're doing, whatever it is, you do that. And after that, you can get the notebook's output in the form of PDF or in Python notebook or this kind of thing as a notebook. HTML. Through HTML, you can create blogs or emails or Wikipedia books like that way. So this is how the notebook is running. What is a library? What is a library in Python? So library can be said to be a chunk of code that you would like to add in your program or projects. So what you say, what you can say is library is a code which is already there for you, so you do not have to code again. So for example, if I'm running a decision tree model, so I do not have to go back into the basics of what is a decision tree and apply each and every logic program for it. I can directly I can directly call the scikit library, and then I say I apply decision tree classifier, then it gives me the result like that way. So you don't have to do the whole coding behind part. You just write simple one line program and it runs it for you. It does all the background work for you. So libraries are very useful in that manner. So you have to install them. So how do we install libraries and all, we'll see into that. So I have classified, there are many libraries, but we are dealing with data science. So data science has three main categories of libraries. So they are used for data mining, they are used for data visualization, and data processing and modeling. So what is data mining? Data mining means you mine the data. So how do you do that? Through Scrappy or Beautiful Soup. So what are these libraries? I'll tell you in detail. Scrappy and Beautiful Soup are used to extract data from websites or HTMLs, where you can get the data like like a spider crawler kind of a thing. So data visualization. So you have graphs, plots, and all. So for that you use Matplotlib and Plotly. Data processing and modeling. For data processing and modeling, you use NumPy, Pandas, SciPy, and scikit-learn. So I'll tell you what it is. NumPy is used for numbers. So what are the operations you do on numbers can be handled by NumPy. Pandas is main data manipulating library. This library is used to read the data, to transfer the data, to manipulate the data like adding new columns and all, to transform the data to whichever form you would require. SciPy is used for scientific calculations. So scientific calculations regarding whatever what do you say, differential equations, integrations, or high level whatever scientific requires. Scikit-learn is where machine learning happens. So all machine learning algorithms are stored in scikit-learn. So that was about libraries. So let us take a bit of break, and I want you all to install your Anaconda and give me a confirmation that you are good to go, so that we can continue our further session. Okay, so I've just received a message that it will take a bit of time. So instead of wasting our time, I'll just proceed with today's session a bit forward, and then you guys confirm to me after you have installed it. So in the meantime, let us explore what is a notebook, how it looks like, and how do we start a Python notebook and all. So our starting step will be to go into the Anaconda Explorer Anaconda Navigator. After going into the Navigator, you select Jupyter Notebook and select Launch. So after launching it, you will get the Anaconda Notebook in your default web browser. So if you're using Internet Explorer or Firefox or Chrome, whatever, in that you would get this screen. So in this screen, you will see this black box. Sorry, what do you say? A circle. So if this circle is in black color, that means your system is running. This whole thing is based on kernel structure. So I'll explain it to you. We have blocks of code unlike other programming languages. Over here in this notebook we work in chunks, like a bit of code, we run it, then we proceed to the next level. So we do not write the entire code in a single block. We divide it into smaller chunks and run it individually. So this is one of the key characteristics, you may say, of the Jupyter notebook. And this is where to create a new notebook and to create a copy, to save it, to print it, or to after completing your work, you can download it in the form of a PDF or as a notebook. So by using this, you can, by downloading it in the form of a PDF, you may add it to your blogs or to your research books, where you can share what research you have done. And in the form of notebook, if you are going to share it to someone, then they can also run the same code and they may get the same results. So you have the clarity when you are sharing your results, what work you have done and how you have come up on your results. So this is what we can do. And if you see the options, there are many options. Code, markdown. So what is a code? Code is where you run it. Markdown is somewhere you write a text and you store it as a text. You do not run it. So that is what a markdown is. So after writing a particular code, so this is my blank code. So I am writing a code. Let us say I want to print hello world. So this is a common code which we write for all programming languages, right? So print, I want to print it, and then in the round brackets, I'm writing hello. And then I want to run this code. So how do I run this code? So there is two options. First, just select the run button, or you press shift enter together. So shift enter it is together. So you can see while I was running this Python 3, this thing got colored in black. Means this indicates that the system is working behind it to derive your results. It's useful when you are running, let's say, a neural network program or machine learning program where it takes around 1 hour or half an hour, something like that. Way. And you want to know whether it is really working or your PC is on standby. So just check out on this indicator. If it is black, it's running. So here it is. We have run our first code, hello world. So I can even change the order, means I can send this cell below or send this cell above. Like that way we can even change the order of the code block. So this is one of the key advantage for it. And the disadvantage will be after changing something, means I have run this code and I've changed the order and sent it to you. Now you are also running it. If the order is changed and some variable is not there, will get lost. Like I'll show you how. So let's say we have, I'll send this below. Let's say we have a variable a is equal to 2 and we have a variable b is equal to 3. And I am saying I want to print b. Okay, so here I will get my result. So yes, I got my result. So now what I'm doing, I'm changing the order. I've changed it. I have got print B up and assignment below. Now I have shared it to some other person. Now I am rerunning this. So if I'm rerunning this code, so I am starting it again. So first, see, I'm getting an error that B is not defined. So this is just a small example which I'm showing you, but sometimes because of this error, the whole machine learning concept gets changed. So that's why be careful of the order while saving it and sending it to some other person. The order is very important. So make sure you keep in mind that everything is in correct order while you are storing it. So this is the main manipulations which we do. So if you want to add some kind of a comment to make to be easy to understand, like for example, I have written this b is equal to 3 and I want to add a comment why I have put that value. Let's say then I put up a hash and write because of some so and so reason I am putting this, I am assigning this value to this. So if you run this, it will only run b is equal to 3 and it will take the rest of the part as a comment. So this is how you can add comments to make it easy for you to understand what is happening. Like for example, you are having a 50 lines or a 70 lines code and you are suddenly lost somewhere. After 1 month, you come back to see the code and you are lost. Ki, why I have done this? At that time, this comments will come very handy. Trust me. So whenever you are writing a program, always add comments why you are doing this, or what is the purpose of doing this, so you do not get lost. Or even if some other third person, third party is coming up and seeing your program, he or she would be able to understand, okay, this guy has applied this logic, that's why we have done this. So let's begin our next segment, data types. So for a data scientist, obviously, as the name implies, we are thoroughly working on data. So what is a data? Any ideas? What is data?
Set of information.
Set of information. Okay. Any others? Others?
Data types is nothing but numbers, characters, and like this.
I would like to correct you because in data science, we are not always dealing with numbers. Why? Because sometimes if you see, we deal with images, sometimes we deal with some kind of, what do you say, videos while doing video analysis and all. So data science is not always about numbers. Sometimes we deal about other characters as well. What is data? First of all, as in the simple terms, it's just a group of information. So what do you mean by data? It means data is collected for some purpose. It is general concept of facts about existing information, or in simple terms, it's about knowledge. So how do we define data? Data for us in Python, we are working on basically five types. That is numbers, set, list, tuple, and dictionary. So we'll get by on this one on one. What is what? So let's go into our notebook. I'll explain it over here. So what is a number? As everyone knows, we have learned it from first class, I think, one, two, three. So those are numbers. So what is so different in this numbers in Python? In Python, we have integers. In Python, we have floating values or floats, and we also have complex numbers. So what are these? I think everyone has idea about what are integers, what are floating values, and what are complex numbers, right? So I don't have to go into detail, right? Hello.
Right?
Yeah. So that's right. So all these, right? What is an integer? What is a float? And what is a complex number? Just like mathematics, same concept. So floating is like after decimals, means whatever you have, 0.01, 0.03, all those are floats. Integers, positive to negative, whatever values you have from minus infinity to plus infinity, those are integers. So how do you assign a value to a variable? This is the basic step for any programming language. So you have a variable, our first variable, let's say var, is equal to some number, let's say 1. This is how you assign it. So this is the syntax. Variable equal to and whatever value you want. Or you may also have variable this 1. So let's change it so that there is no confusion. So both of this, wait a minute. This is how we, I think I have made a mistake. So for variables, variable defining, always character comes first. So you cannot assign a name for a variable as 1. You will get an error. Syntax error. Why? Because 1 cannot, some other number, not only 1. So any kind of number cannot come in first place. That is one error. And it can come in the end. There is no problem with that. This is one of the rules which you need to follow for assigning some value to the variable. So after variable assignment, we are seeing the numbers. So if you want to know what is the type of variable, means what kind of data it has inside it, we have type. Because if you call out the type function, you will get what is the data type of a particular variable. So over here, I have assigned a is equal to 5. And I'm saying print a, whatever its value is. So if you can see the syntax of print. So what am I doing? I am printing a, and I want is the type of as some kind of a text. So I'm putting it in double inverted commas. So for text in Python, we always put it in single inverted or double inverted, whatever it is, ending and starting should be the same. This you need to keep it in mind. And then type. What is the data type? So that is the function which we are calling it. So I have assigned first one is an integer, second one is a float, and third one is a complex number. So let's see if we are getting the same result or not. Yes. So 5 is the type of class int, class float, and it is true. So correct. This is what the data type is for numbers. So what is a list? Means is it what is a list? A list is some ordered structure. Point one this, point two this. So there is some order in a list. First item, second item, third item. You can identify a particular element on a particular position. So how do we say, like, a third item in the list is so and so, fourth item in the list is so and so. So over here we have a particular order to identify them, like roll numbers, simply said. So that is a list. It is an ordered set of data. And in this, you need to keep in mind that it does not always have to be of same nature. Means our list may be a combination of different variables. Like it can be a combination of integers and float. It can be a combination of text and numbers, like that way. So it is a combination mix, but it is just an ordered list. So if it is in order, obviously we can extract a particular item from the list because we know its order. So how do we get the position? So list always starts with zero number. So if it is a zero number, let's say our 2. So 2 is in which position? It is not on second position. It is on first position. Why? 0, 1. Right. So I want to know what is the position of 6. So what is the position of 6? Hello. Are you there? What is the position of 6?
Five, ma'am.
Correct, 5. Why? Because we are starting from 0. So to extract a particular item in a list, we put square brackets. Square brackets. So inside a square bracket, you whatever variable you want, whatever positions value you want, you put. So I'm writing, I want the value of second position, whatever is there in second position. So what is there in my second position? 0, 1, and 2. So it's 3, correct? Now it is
Yes.
for now, yes. So now you know how to extract for a single element. Now I want to know about 3 to 4 elements together. So how do I do that? How do I get from 1 to 5 together, all together? So this 1 is at 0 position, correct? And this 5 is at fourth position. So what I do, 0 to, let's say you wanted till 5, right? So 4. So 0 to 4, I am putting a colon in between. That means all the values from 0 to 4 I want. So by running it, you will get all the values from 0 to 4. So what is from 0 to 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Correct. Now, are you observing this? I said 4 over here, right? Fourth position. So what is fourth position? 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 5 is also there, but I'm not getting 5 over here. Can you guess the reason why 5 is not here? Hello? Guys, are you
Yes,
there?
ma'am.
So I'm asking, I have typed
Yeah,
4, right? So I should get till 5. But why am I not getting 5? I'm getting only till 4.
maybe you mentioned up to that instead of 4 you have to put 5, 0 colon 5, then you will get we will get the 5.
So if I put 5, that means I'm talking about positions over here. So let's
Yeah,
see, if I'm putting 5, what am I getting? Yes, we are getting 5. But if you see, what is the position of 5? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is 6.
yeah,
And
yeah.
on fifth position, we have 6 over here. But I'm not getting 6 over here. Why?
Okay, no idea.
There is no mistake in programming because in Python, if you have some kind of mistake, obviously it will give you an error. So there is Python is understanding something, and that's why it is giving us an answer. But I am asking you why? Means why is it prompting no error? Guys, guess the reason. Hello. Guys, are you thinking? Are you doing what? Are you searching, googling it? What are you doing? Are you there? Okay, no idea, observations. I don't know. So I'll tell you. In this, what is happening is it is eliminating our last value. It is only taking up till minus 1, means till 5. Whatever is there till fifth position, it will take immediate left of that. So our fifth position, what is there? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our immediate left of fifth position is 5. So only till 5 it will produce our results. So here we are, only till 5. So if I am saying only till 2, what will my result be? Guys, only till 2, what will my result be? Hello, guys.
One and two. One and two only.
1 and 2, correct? That's correct. So you got my point why we are not getting any error and still missing out, because it is reading till immediate left of the last value which you are putting. So if I am putting, let's say, 7, so our last value, what is our last value? 8 actually, based on position, but immediate left is 7. So till here it will produce all the results. That's what is happening over here. So in this, always keep in mind while you are calling out, it will miss out the immediate last position. Now I want to find out all the values from certain position. So how do I do that? Means my problem is from 2, I want all the values. So over here, there are only 10 numbers or 8 numbers, so I can count the position of each one. Let's say our list is having around 1000 entries. Okay, so for 1000 entries, I'm not going to count all of them and tell you, okay, till 1000 are there, so 5 to 1000 I want. So I'll write out 5 to 1000. No, obviously we cannot do that. So what am I going to do? I'll just leave it blank. So 5 colon, colon means whatever it is there till the end. So I will say, let's say from 2. So what is my second position? 0, 1, 2. So my second position is 3. 3 say everything. Colon, na? There is no end. So 3 say everything. What is everything? Till 8. So let's see. 3 to 8, all numbers have been displayed. So this is how we call out for all the values. Okay. You have to remember this calling very well, because this may seem very simple to you, like very small things, but trust me, when you are implementing these machine learning models and all, they are going to crumble only because of shape failure. What is shape failure? Shape failure is where your rows and columns numbers don't match, or where you are having around 100 entries, 100 columns, while your answer is having only one column or two columns. So like that way, everything will become jumbled up only because of this problem, where you are failing to identify the positions of elements in a list. So remember this very well. Now the next part is, we have done with list. So yeah, one more thing I want to tell you. A unique feature of list is it can be changed. So let us say this is our list. Our list one is having what? What shall we have? List one is having some text, and it is also having some numbers. Then again some text, and it is also having some float values. Okay, I jumbled up. Yeah, some float values. And this one more thing. If you write some numbers inside a colon, what do you think it will be? Will it still be treated as number, or will it be treated as text? Guys?
It will be treated as text.
Obviously, correct. It will be treated as text. So I have my list over here. Now I want to change this element. I don't want to. I want to add a text over here also. So what do I do? I call out the list. What is the element position of this two? Guys, what is the position of two?
2. 2 is the position of 2.
Correct. So I'm calling out 2 is the position of 2 and I'm implementing it. I want to change it. So I want it over here as some text added. So this is my new text which is going to be added. Great. I have run it. For running it, we press shift and enter together. Remember this. This is a shortcut which we use. So for that, and now I'm calling out my list one. Whatever is my list one, I want everything. So you see, instead of two, we have text added. So we have changed an element in our list. So remember, this is one of the key features of a list. A list is mutable. That is, we can change the elements inside it. So instead of some text, I can also convert it back to some integers. So I say, let's say -3. I've changed it. Over here we have -3. So we can change it to any category. Now, the next element is a tuple. What is a tuple? List and tuple are somewhat same. The only difference is where it can be differentiated is its ability to change. What do we mean by ability to change? Means the item, as we have seen in our list, we have changed this element to something else. But in a tuple, once defined, it cannot be changed whatsoever. It's fixed. So difference between list and a tuple, you can say tuple is a list which cannot be changed. Okay, that is what a tuple is. So tuple is an ordered sequence of lists, same as list. The only difference is tuples are immutable. They are not able to change. So they are right protected. So if you are going to share your data to some people and you don't want them to apply any changes to your original data set, convert it to a tuple and run your operation. So after that, even if you give it to some person to do further changes, it is protected. So your data does not change. So remember this tuple. So what is a tuple? It is an ordered pair. So similarly, like list, we can also call it on position. So all its position properties are same. So this is my tuple. Difference between creating a tuple and a list. So what is it? Round bracket and square bracket. So my tuple one is equal to some down inside a bracket. I have element one. I have element two. Okay, and comma in between. Yeah. So and my list. What does my list have? List is a square bracket of element one and element two. So I have my list and tuple over here. I want to find out what is its type of tuple one. I've converted the rest of the program into comments so that it will not run. So yeah, so my type is a tuple. So another one type of list one. It's a list. See that? So if you observe this, after running this, both of them have run together, type and type, both of them. But I'm getting only the last one, keep is a list. Why is this happening? You need to remember this program, this whole notebook is run in chunks. So if you have multiple outputs, only the last line of output will be displayed to you. The rest of them will run internally. So you have to remember very clearly because I have typed this also and this also I'm not getting. I'm only getting the output for this type of list one. Why? Because after running this, the last output is only displayed at the end. You only get final output over here, whatever is the last operation which you are doing. So for this, you have to get the result of this and this. Obviously, I'll have to create a new cell and run it. Only then will I get the display of both of them together. Okay. So am I clear so far? Do you have any doubts? Guys, do you have any doubts so far?
If I say print type of tuple 1, will it also print?
Yeah, it will print. Let's check that also. So you want to print this, right?
Yes.
No, commas are not required. It has given the result.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So you get the result for print. So yeah, what were we doing here? If you want to see, now let us see our tuple. We are changing it. How we have changed in our list. In the similar way, we are changing it in our tuple over here. What is our tuple over here? T is equal to 5 program and complex number. So I want to change the first element in this to 10. So let's see if it is possible or not. See, you get an error type error. Why is it a type error? Because a tuple object does not support item assignment. Item assignment in the sense you cannot change it. Whatever you have defined originally, it will stay in same manner. You cannot do that, changing of elements. That was what it is. So next, what do we have? We have string. So what is a string? String is text, right? So as I've told you earlier, string can be written in single inverted or in double inverted commas. So inside a double inverted commas, you write everything. So starting and ending should be same. So if you write in a single inverted commas, as let's say our text is equal to, I'm starting with a single inverted comma and ending with a double inverted comma, I am writing something good. So will I get an error? Yeah. So what is this? We are getting an error. Why? This is a syntax error. Syntax error means somewhere you have made a mistake based on original structure of the program. So this, if I change into a single inverted, yep, it's good to go. And if I change it to a double inverted, yep, it's good to go. So starting and ending should be same. Single or double doesn't matter. This is one of the key element for the Python. So now I am good to go with a single line. So let's say I have multiple lines. I'm having multiple lines like this way. So line 1, I am having line 2. So this is how my sentence is. It has lots of lines in it, text structure. So I'm getting an error. Why? Any ideas why I'm getting an error? Because everything should have been in between, right? So I'm still getting an invalid syntax error. Why? Any ideas? Guys, any ideas? I want this to be an interactive session, so please respond, okay?
No idea.
Okay, any other person? Any ideas? Anything is possible. Here, there is no one going to judge you or anything. Means everyone is new to this. So, whatever idea you're getting, whatever reason it is you are thinking, just say it. So, there is no harm in sharing whatever thoughts are. So, I'm having, means earlier, if I put it over here at the end, I'm getting no error. So, if I'm putting it the same thing in the next line, I'm getting an error. Why? The syntax is good,
I
right?
think
Yeah.
as per the syntax, I think that should end in the same line. Is
Perfect.
the reason?
Yeah, perfect. So what I'm saying is our text is a single line code, means it will only take up a single line. whatever may be the length. Means I am going so and so far. I am typing something, and now I am putting this. Okay, I think it will run. Wait a minute, I'm lost. What I'm trying to say is for a single line only it will run. So for multiple lines, what should I do? For multiple lines, you put three inverted commas. So for multi-text, multi-line, what do? You put one, two, three, 3D. After putting three commas, you type it. Then go to the next line, you type something. Then again to the next line, you type something. Third line, you type something. So I have added over here how many lines? One, two, three, four. I have added 4 lines, and this is my code. So it will run. So I'm not getting any error. Then multi. Yep, I am getting no error. And since I have placed it in a next line, means this is a new line, right? That's why I'm getting this. This indicates there is a new line over here. This backward slash in n indicates a new line. So what I'm saying is for multiple lines, we put three commas. So like in single one, it should either be all singles or it should all be doubles, whatever it is. So one, two, three. Yep, it's running. See, should either start and end with single or double, but it should be three. So by doing that, we'll make it learn in multiple lines. So that is what we do about string. So you must know that string is also a list. Means how I'm saying it, it's not exactly a list. Means to identify like how we do it in a list. I want to say, let's say this is our hello world, right? S is equal to hello world. I'm putting it over here. I'm running it. So imagine this is a list, okay? So in a list, even space is counted as some character. So what do you have? A H is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? So a 0 to 5 is hello. Now I want to print only hello. So what do I do? S of 0 to 4. Is it correct? To get the entire hello, should I write this? Correct me. Is it right or wrong?
You should write 0 to 5.
0 to 5. Okay.
Yes, wrong, ma'am.
Okay. What should I write then?
You should write 6.
0 to correct? Whatever it is. I want complete list. Each letter position. Zero.
6.
So
Up.
what do I write for getting complete hello?
6.
Should I write 6? Guys, should I write
0 to 6 will 0 to 6 will also add the space.
should I write 0 to 5?
Okay.
Should I write 0 to 5, 0 to 4, or 0 to 6? Which one?
0 to 5 is okay.
5. Okay, let's run it. Oh, yeah. No, no. Um, So our first someone told 0 to 4. So we are getting hello. And someone told 0 to 5. Let's check that. What is 0 to 5? Great, we are getting hello. Great. And someone told 0 to 6. What do we get on 0 to 6? Yes, we get hello, including our space. I just wanted just hello. So this is correct, 0 to 5. So I think now you guys are very much familiar with accessing the positions of a list, right? So if I give you any list and tell you to get me a particular part, I think you will be able to get that, right? Right or wrong?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So one of the thing is means I am able to access it like a list, right? So if I want to change a particular element, let's say I don't want it to start with H, I want to start it with J. So what do I do? Means starting position matlab 0. So S of 0, right? To get our starting position. Let's check. Yeah, it is 0. So I want to change it to some letter, let's say K. Okay. So will I get an error? Will I get an error? What do you guys think?
Yes, I think you will get an error.
Yes,
Why?
ma'am. It should be in bracket. K. K
Yeah,
should be in bracket.
yes, it is in bracket. I have put double quotes on both sides. So let's just run it and see if we get an error or not. Yeah, we are getting an error. Why? Because string object does not support item assignment. Like a tuple, it is not able to change in between positions, right? Okay. So over here also we see it is not supporting assignment. So remember, for a string we can access it like a list, but cannot change it. Okay. Now a set. What is a set? Set is just a collection of objects together, right? There is no order in it. Like in maths, I think we studied it in 10th and 12th, I think, where you had to do some set operations of union, intersection, and whatnot. So similarly, set is an unordered collection of unique items. Remember this. It is a collection of unique items. So in my set, if I have, let's say, 1 comma 1, I'm having two twos. No, no, let's put it like this. So I'm just having one ones, two twos, and say eight, two, three, three threes and four fours. One, two, three, and four. Right. So this is my collection. I want to put this collection in a set. So what do I do? Set is defined. Set is defined in curl braces. So how do I define a set in curl braces? So this is my first set I'm creating. Set 1 is equal to curl braces. Where are the curl braces? Over here. Yeah. So in this, I'm just putting it in this. Okay. So this is my collection. I'm running it. Okay. Now I am accessing it again. So what do I find? I just find 1, 2, 3, and 4, just single elements. So all these twos, all these threes, all these fours have been eliminated. Why? Because it is a collection of unique items. So it will only take one item of each. So if you have thousand, it will only take 1,000. Okay, like that way. And now operations of a set. So if you have studied in if you have studied in maths, we had operations of union, intersection, right? So same things can be done in Python. So how do we do that? Set 1 is equal to set 1 a comma comma. Okay, this is my set. Okay, and this is my set 2. Where am I? Set 2 is equal to curl braces of C. So C and let's say A also. A, okay. Now, what is the union of set A and set 1 and set 2? Normal mathematics kind of a thing, no, nothing doing with science. So set 1 and set 2 ka union will be what? Guys, what is the
A,
union
B,
of
C,
set
D.
1 and correct?
A B
A,
B C A.
A, B, C, D. And what is the intersection of set 1 and set 2?
A, B, D, C, A.
Wrong. Ask me intersection. Intersection. Intersection means
Oh,
combination.
A only.
Just only A. Is it two times or one time?
One time.
Correct. That's correct. So how do we do that in Python? So let's see. We have our sets over here. Our set A 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. Are set B 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So print union. For union we have this, and for intersection we have this. Okay. So if I apply this, I'm applying it for set 1 and set 2, so it's easy for us. You see, what you said was correct. So A, B, C, D, and only A. So this is how we find union and intersection of a set. So our next one is Python dictionary. So what is a dictionary? In English, I mean to say, what is a dictionary? Guys, what is a dictionary?
Collection of words or anything. The
Collection of words. Anything else?
Ma'am, collection of words that means any answers.
So what is our English dictionary? Our dictionary, there is one key.
resources of words.
Pardon?
Resources of words.
What is the word?
Ma'am, resources of words.
Resources of words. Okay. So in Python, we have our dictionary. It is like key. It is a set of key and value. So how is it related to our dictionary? In our English dictionary or some other language dictionary, where you see you have some word, whatever the word is, then you have the meaning, the whole meaning of it, blah blah blah. Right? So whole this blah blah is some value, and this is our key. So each word is unique, right? In a dictionary, you don't have repeated words. You have unique words, right? So each one is a unique identifier, and for that, it has some unique text in it. In same structure, we have dictionary in Python. So what is it? We created. Let's say this is our dictionary one. Dict one is equal to curly braces. So our first value, first key. So our key one. So key one. Then whatever value you want to put inside this key one. So this inside key one is value one. Okay. Next, I want to add second key. So comma. Next key. That is key two. Key two. Comma. What do I write for value two?
Value 2, double inverted comma value 2.
Double inverted comma of value two. And how do I end it?
We have to do it.
Done this. So yes, we have finished our dictionary. So if I want to find out the value of, what do I want to find out? The value of key 2. So what is there inside key 2? What is stored inside key 2?
Value 2.
Correct. So this is how we find it. Like dictionary only, but instead of position, we are writing key values. Okay. Get my point? But if you want to do the reverse of it, if you want to do the reverse of it, that means I want to find out the value 2c. So I am doing this of value 2. I get an error. Why? Because our dictionary is only able to access the keys. Okay. So if I have, let's say, 100 keys, now I don't know what are the keys, right? So what I do, dict1 dot keys. So this will give me dict1 dot keys will store all the keys in it, and then dict1 dot values will store all the values in it. Okay. So now if I have to add, let's say, 2 colon something, and let's say I even have what is that? Okay, and minus 4 colon. Will this dictionary, D dictionary, give me an error or not? Will the D dictionary
Yes.
give me an error? Why?
I think the key should be strings or characters.
Keys should be strings or characters. Anything else? Anybody? Guys, anyone else? So what I'm trying to say is there is no hard and fast rule that if all the keys should be numbers or all the keys should be characters. Okay, it can have anything. Our key can be a character, our key can be an integer, our key can also be a float. So there is no hard and fast rule for that. Okay. So one more thing. Yeah, what I was trying to tell you before is if I want to find out what are the keys, what are the values which are there. So how do I do that? Keys all. So through this we get the keys, whatever key is there. Like that way only, if I want to find out what are all the values which are stored in my dictionary, so I call them this. So this is how you can access all the keys and all the values. Great. So this is what are the different types of data types which we deal in Python majorly. This is about the data types. So far, do you have any doubts?
There is no doubt, but ma'am, can we get some background notes on this so that there should be some more examples related with this so that we can learn more things.
This Jupyter notebook with some added examples as well. And I'll add some assignments for you guys so that before we start our next session on Saturday, you'll be able to handle all this on your own. Okay, so I'll share some assignments as well on Classroom. I think all of you have joined the Classroom, right? Right? Have you all
Yes,
joined?
Yes, ma'am.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
So through Classroom, I'll be sharing to you guys about the assignments as well as this Jupyter notebook so that you can run, learn, and do that. Yeah, one more thing I forgot to tell you. So we are dealing with libraries. I told you right in Python. So you guys have not asked me this question. Means I was waiting if you'll ask me or not. So since no one has asked me, I'll only do this. So I told you we are using libraries in Python. So no one has raised this question ki why, how are we using them? Means I have told you about variables and all, but no one has asked me how to add this. So I'll tell you. Pip install NumPy. So sorry. So using pip install whatever you want to know and install unknown command. Okay, I forgot an S. Yeah. So this is how you do this. Pip install NumPy, pip install pandas, SciPy. So this is how you install a new package or library into your Python environment. Okay. So now if you want, you have installed it, everything is good to go. Now you want to run it. So how do I run it? I say import. I want to import NumPy. Okay. I want to import NumPy as NP. So I don't, why am I doing this? So instead, means if I want to call out some function in a NumPy, I won't every time, I will get tired writing every time NumPy this, NumPy that. So instead of that, I'm putting a shortcut NP. So wherever I require NumPy's object, I will just call NP dot something, do the work. Okay. Or let's say import pandas as PD. Okay. So pandas is used for data manipulation and all. I told you, right? So I am having, let's say, data. I am telling you guys about how to get a data. Means over here, if you have seen all this data, we have added a single variable and we have told this is the value for it. So if you are having an Excel file or some CSV file, how do you get it? So we read it through pandas. So pd dot read, read, okay, read. So there are many types in it. You have clipboard, CSV, Excel, Feather, FWF, even I don't know what this is. HTML, JSON, Pickle, SAS, table, query, SQL query, like that. So I want an Excel file. So EXEL, Excel of round brackets, this, and then whatever the name of the file is, the file's location wherever it is, R, and whatever the location is, our file is. So let's say I want to have, yeah, there's some file. I already have this book. So in a single inverted commas, you write the name of the Excel file or the whole location of the Excel file. Then you run it. Okay. So after this, if you had data, yeah. So you got some kind of data over here. It means whatever the Excel sheet had, the data, that data has been displayed over here. So this is how you extract data from an Excel sheet or from a CSV file, whatever form it is. So this is how you get install and access the libraries. Okay. So this was the end of the session. So apart from this, if you guys have any doubts, feel free to ask. We still have around half an hour more to go.
Ma'am, just 1 minute. This is data pd dot read excel in bracket r.
Yes. R
Okay,
means
r,
read.
then inverted comma.
Excel
Okay,
file
r means what, ma'am?
read.
Okay,
You want to read this like that.
okay, and like for storing, then is it s?
No, if you want to create, means you want to store, I didn't get you. Okay, if you want to, then to data means in this variable you have stored your data. So
Yeah.
dot to underscore if you want it as an Excel file dot excle of whatever name you want to give, file name dot Excel sx. So the syntax is very important. You want to convert it into two CSV, so your ending should also be Excel sx. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. If you write CSV over here, you'll get an error. So this is how you create a Excel sheet from a notebook.
Okay.
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 So guys, any other doubts?
Ma'am, like if we want to call some like trigonometric functions, then, is it available in the library? How we call that
Yeah,
one?
trigonometry, I think SciPy is used. Let's trigonometric functions. Yeah, SciPy handles that. So you call the SciPy package and
Hmm.
work on it. Trigonometric.
Okay.
So simple functions such as sine, cos, and all, NumPy can also handle it. So one of the examples I can give is NP because it is NumPy dot. I want the value of sine 0. I don't know what it will give. Let's see. Sine 0 is 0, correct. Sine 90. It is giving some value. So for simple calculations, you can do this.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
I want to add, sorry to interrupt. I want to add, like, the recorded session of the video will be also provided to you in the Google Classroom group itself. So you can watch the recording itself, like, once again. If you have any other queries, you can watch, you can clear your doubts by like watching 1 or 2 times the recorded session. So it will be like more helpful to you in revising and like so at least watch 1 time before coming to the next session.
Yes, thank you. It's good.
So that's it for today. I hope you liked my session. So feel free to share your comments on how we should improvise or what do you want more in this and all. So that's how it is.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Have a great evening then. Goodbye. See you next.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mention.
We will be like adding the assignment and all the things in the Google Classroom group. Thank you, everyone.